All right, guys, Copper Cutlass. It's Friday. I think it's kind of become tradition to do our weekly updates on Fridays now, as Saturdays and Sundays I've been kind of cramming the videos together crudely, but at least you guys get to see what we got going on. So it's Friday. Cheers. Just got back from dinner with my wife. She's obviously recording. So you guys, if you saw the other video, we got our AC delete. As you can see, our surface didn't quite, it's good, it's not horrible, but fiberglass does warp as it dries. So once we screw this in place, we're going to do exactly what the factory did, and we're probably, once we figure out everything, we're going to run some 3/8 butyl in between, screw it in to seal it, and then probably do an outer layer of seam sealer. And then when you go to remove it, all you have to do is cut the seam sealer, split the butyl, and pretty much the same thing they did on AC boxes, probably for the same reason as that. They were fiberglass, they never fit flat. I am flat on 3 surfaces, but this one. So, and it's just the nature of the beast, but I'm very happy with that. So last week, obviously, you guys saw that I got the prep work for the frame done. My buddy's coming by tomorrow. He's not sick, he's feeling better. I'm gonna let him take over welding duties. I know you guys have seen me weld on a bunch of exhaust stuff, or at least have seen my welding on a bunch of exhaust stuff and drive shaft safety loops and floor braces and stuff on the olds, but I'm gonna have him go ahead and just weld on it. He's one of my oldest and best friends. I've known him since 2nd grade. And I'm going to have him just go at it. At the moment, I don't have a welder. The welder I did have here was his, as I've mentioned in other videos, but I will be buying a welder in the very near future, probably next weekend, because getting into this project made me realize how much I really need a welder for like just simple things. So I am going to go ahead and buy a welder probably within the next 2 weeks. There's going to be a lot of odds and ends that I need a welder for. So the goal this weekend is going to be get the frame boxed. In the video that I made probably when I was cleaning the frame out, I showed that there's areas on the frame where the bushings sit that are rotted out. They're super thin, and we're going to go ahead and fix that. And there's a couple spots on the rear where I don't know exactly what happened, but they need some plates welded in as well. No big deal, a little bit of extra work, but I got everything pretty much ready to go. And then the only thing I left to be done is the outside of the frame, the crack, and what we're gonna do, I'm gonna talk with my buddy about that and see what he wants to do. Because really, that's something that I can't cut until we have the inside plated. So I'm going to talk to him and see what he would want to do, whether he wants to lap plate or whether he wants to butt weld plate on the inside versus lapping one over the outside, which is fine. I mean, that area of the frame you will not see once the frame is on. And we're not looking to win beauty contests in that area. You'll never see it. But that is, those little things are kind of contingent there. And so yeah, that's the game plan. I'm pretty excited. A couple things that we're going to be buying this weekend is I am buying new body mount bushings, because even though these are pretty new, some of these got beat up, especially the middle ones, since the frame constantly flexed into them. The ends are all mushroomed out. Well, these are fine. My wife zoomed in on it, but they're fine. The other ones I'll show you. I'll try to find them. Which ones is it? For the most part, these bushings are actually, you see, like these. No, yeah, this one is a good one where it kind of got chewed up, and it's not the end of the world, but there's one in here that's really fucking bad, and now I need to find it because, see that one? It's this one right here. See, this one got oblonged, and this is actually the one that was probably sitting in the center of the frame, because as the frame moved around, it pinched it, which I guess I could straighten it out. Maybe a thought. I saved myself $100. We're gonna give that a shot. Actually, talking with you guys right now. made me realize that, that is a metal center. I could just squeeze that and probably straighten it out. What do you guys think? This rubber's in really good shape. It's not cracked, it's not split. These are brand new bushings. My dad did replace these, so let's see, we're gonna give that a shot because we save $100 right there. And so I'm gonna buy, I know I mentioned in previous videos that we're gonna go ahead and make our own rear control arms for the rear of this car. On the rear end of the car, it's pretty easy to make your own control arms, nothing complicated. Now, some things that did change is that the rear end housing with a nice 30 spline strange axles, I don't think I'm going to use. Considering the fact that we're still going to be running the small block, I want to keep our budget small. I'm going to go ahead and buy a used posi unit from I have an Oldsmobile racing friend of mine who rebuilds differentials. He's got parts for almost everything. And he's got a posi unit for 8.5 10 bolt with 28 for the 28 spline axles. And he's got one. And then we're going to go ahead and buy a good used GM gear, which that's actually what I have in the back of this car is a used 308. Originally, this car had a 241. And I bought a 3 Series Carrier, a 308. I put that in the car. It really woke it up. But again, this was early on. We had intentions of just being a cruiser. And I mean, the car runs great with the 308, but we're looking to pep it up here. So we really need a 373 gear. It's the perfect in between. Some guys may not like the RPMs. We certainly don't mind them in this house. My wife has gotten used to riding shotgun in the Cutlass with the car screaming at 4,000 RPMs, rattling your brains about. So on this car, it'll be a lot more tamer as the engine's pretty mild. So we're on stockish applications, the RPMs, it won't be unbearable. So we're gonna go with a 373 gear, used posi unit. Depending on the shape that he's got, or I forgot how much he charges to rebuild the posi unit. I may just have him rebuild it. I don't know yet. I'll see what he has and what he thinks based off, again, I trust him. I bought many parts. He actually did, although I'm doing the rear end in this car, he's the only guy who's ever done the rear end on the Cutlass because usually I'm always on a budget. So he built me a rear end. Obviously, it still has stock axles in it, but the posi unit's been rebuilt with some modifications, and it's got a used GM 390 in the back, and it's lived in my car for a long time. And he's been my go-to guy for rear ends, and I started going to him before I kind of ventured off into rebuilding differentials. And I kept that a theme with the olds that I have him do the rear end for the olds because he has a lot more experience in the racing aspect. And with this Bonneville is that I'm going to kind of learn what to do, and that I've done differentials for stockish type street strip applications, not something that gets us beaten as much as my olds. So we're going to bridge that gap with this project. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the used posi unit, the used gear, and we're going to save the other rear end, which I showed you guys. It's got the nice strange axles and the C-clip eliminators. That rear end came out of a Chevy, so it's got the typical C-clip eliminators. And but we're going to save that for when we do the big block. Again, budget. So budget and time frames, everything, it changes day by day. I get ideas. So I'm looking to lop off half of what I was going to spend on rebuilding this rear, and actually more, about 65% of what I was going to spend I'm saving. I'm going to be spending about 35% of what I would have had in that, and really that rear end is overkill at the moment. So we're buying time here. So I might only be spending about $350, $400 at most to do that rear end. It's better than spending $1,000 to $1,100 if I got the nice fancy aluminum diff cover that I wanted to get. But if we're going to keep it cheap, we're just going to keep the stock cover on there and roll with that. And so that's the game plan on that. Hopefully, I think there's a swap meet. If you guys are in the Chicagoland area, there's a Buick Olds, Pontiac, Cadillac swap meet coming up the weekend of the 16th. It's on the 16th in St. Charles at the King County Fairgrounds. And my wife is trying to tell me so. What are you trying to tell us? Tell us.
That's next weekend, honey.
Yeah, next weekend.
So about a week from Sunday.
Okay, yeah, she's correcting me. She's allowed to talk. She's over here miming stuff.
I don't like going on video, guys.
So either way, it's the weekend. It's the 16th. It's next weekend in St. Charles at the Kane County Fairgrounds. The Buick Olds Pontiac Cadillac swap meet. It's usually a decent. It actually always has been a pretty decent turnout. So we go every year. We see our friends. A lot of friends we run into there. So I'm thinking maybe I save myself the drive because my Oldsmobile racing buddy, he lives about an hour north of here. But for me, I kind of wanted to take the rear end that we have here and have him kind of school me on it because I've never built anything like this. And I even talked to him on the phone and asked him about, it's got the seat clip eliminators, and I don't know if I can use the stock backing plate because of the distance between the eliminators and the back of the axle flange. And he told me, no, you should be able to, and you just need to make a few modifications to the internals to clearing stuff out. So again, guys, this is how I learn. I got some of these people that have been in my corner for the last 12, 13 years, and whenever I hit snags, I just call them for a quick little, question, and I usually get cleared up there. But I wanted to take it to him anyway. He kind of knows the history of this rear end because he knows the guy who originally had this, and everybody kind of knows each other in the Oldsmobile world. It's a small world. So either way, guys, that's our plans as of right now. They kind of changed a little bit, but I really am trying to get this diff done this month along with the control arms and stuff, because that means in March all we have left to do will be the engine and the transmission. And the engine isn't a big deal. It's just, I think I'm going to pop the intake off, clean it, new intake seals. Really, I don't have a lot of major leaks. It's just a cleanup and fresh paint, fresh gaskets as needed. And then the transmission needs a couple of seals, pan seal. It needs a speedometer kit, tail shaft gasket. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a pump gasket in it because I saw a little drip from the pump last time. But our main leak has been from the speedometer. What happens is you got an aluminum housing, you got parts that ride together and seal on an O-ring. The speedometer gears are plastic, but the housing, the shaft where the speedo housing is aluminum. So over time, those all deform. And especially in the winter months, when everything shrinks, I end up with like a quart of trans fluid in the garage. So for guys who get winter leaks on their transmissions, that's a huge culprit, is the speedo gear. So either way, guys, I'm going to sign off. This is taking way too long. I don't know if I'm going to be recording this weekend. It's all up to my friend. I don't know if he's cool with it. He doesn't even know I do these. I've been kind of keeping this to just the community, not really like inviting a lot of friends, just friends that are kind of in the hobby. This will be like the first time I tell, and this is like my best friend. He doesn't know that I do this, so we're going to see how that goes. If he's down with it, we'll set up and I'll record. Actually, it'd be great for me to record as he works because he's a phenomenal welder. He actually went to school for it. Any opportunity he gets to weld, he likes to do it. So you know what? He doesn't do it for a living. Actually, he does construction work for a living, but he's my right-hand man. So anybody who I allow to work on my stuff, I consider to be the best. So guys, I'm going to sign off. Follow, share, subscribe. Copper Cutlass on YouTube, Copper Cutlass on Instagram, and Copper's Garage on Facebook. Hit like, subscribe, tell your G's, tell your homies. We're down.